Uh, Technical difficulties. It's a really good clip. Yeah, you would have really enjoyed it. So sorry about that. But I think there's probably one like that online if you go to YouTube. But yeah, the Miracle Morning movie is coming out later this year. We've been working on it for 4 years, and I'm really excited about that, but that's separate. So the point of that clip was it really shares my story in a 3-minute version. And I'm very long-winded. So it was to save both all of you and me about 15 minutes of trying to tell that story because the movie does it so much more succinctly. Actually, I pulled an audible. Now, before I mention that, thank you for everybody who donated money for Paul. Having gone through cancer when I was in the hospital, I had so much support. I was so blessed with so much support on so many different levels. I had, friends and family that were helping me and taking care of me. I had the finances to have insurance and pay my medical bills. I had the knowledge to support myself in navigating the journey. And while I was going through it, I realized that so many people do not have the knowledge. They don't have the people in their lives. They don't have the financial resources that I was fortunate and blessed with. And so I started a nonprofit called Support the Unsupported. And, or I should say, I'm starting a nonprofit. It's in the middle of, we're waiting for the US government to approve it and stuff. But the point is, I'm really leaning toward that being my life's work, is just to help people that were born into circumstances or don't have the circumstances that many of us were blessed with. And some of us were born into similar circumstances as well. But I think just for all of us if every single one of us is just looking for how can we give, whether it's daily or weekly or just even once a month or each paycheck, it's a percentage of money, it's a little bit of time, whatever it is. But I think that each of us has, as part of the human race, the human family, right? In the same way that we have responsibility to support our friends and our family, to me, you're all my friends and family, and so is every person on the planet. We're a hell of a lot more related than we are separate just because we live in different locations or have separated by our race or our whatever, right? We're all human beings. So I wasn't planning on starting with that, but that's a tangent that I think is relevant, and I just want to acknowledge you and thank you, for us to raise $18,000 for Paul in a moment is absolutely incredible. So I appreciate that. And let's keep it going. Yeah, as one of my good friends, John Keynes, he signs all his emails, keep helping people, John, right? And I love that. Like, that's what he's about, is just how can I help someone today? How can I help someone today? So anyway, all right, that's my soapbox. And then the audible that I pulled over there is I decided not to give the keynote that I was planning on giving you. And it's the keynote that I've given hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times all over the world. It is the Miracle Morning keynote. And I often, I have usually like half of any audience I speak to. In fact, let's figure this out. How many of you, by a show of hands, have read the Miracle Morning? Put those hands up high. Awesome, thank you. And if you didn't raise your hand, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. But yeah, usually about half of the people I speak to now, it's so cool. It's really neat. It used to be where I would go there and no one knew who I was, and I would have to try to convince them that they should wake up early, and I only had like an hour to do it, and now it's really neat when half of the audience you're like, we already do the Miracle Morning, right? It's really cool. So the point is, whenever I give my message, I always have people come up and go, wow, like I've read your book, but seeing your story come to life, and and seeing the pictures and hearing the way you tell it, it was really powerful, and it really impacted me in this way or that. You're not going to get that experience today. So, but my hope is you're going to get a better experience, because many of you may know, how many of you are aware, I'm just curious, that I have a new book coming out on Tuesday, right? The Miracle Equation. This is it. This is the only copy that I have, so I'm sorry I don't have any extras to give out. But the Miracle Equation, I just got done with a little worldwide tour where I flew to Brazil. I was in Brazil for 3 days, and then I went to San Jose, California for 3 days, and I was doing interviews and speeches all over, and I went to San Diego for 3 days from San Jose, and then I flew from San Diego to New York to do the James Altucher show, and I got to go home and see my kids for 2 days, and now I'm here. So I've been on this tour, and this is all I've been talking about. And the more I talk about it, the more I realize how fundamentally crucial this is for every single one of us. I don't mean buying the book. I mean the concept inside the book. And I kind of had an epiphany, like when, so here's the point. I'm about to give you guys a Miracle Morning keynote, or Miracle Equation keynote that I don't have written, that I don't have slides for. I'm just going to tell you what I've been telling everyone I've been talking to that has had me feeling so convicted about this message. And the Miracle Morning is a practice for personal development. And it's only half the equation, so to speak, because you can become what I call a personal development junkie, which is where, while the majority of society doesn't do personal development at all, right? So the Miracle Morning was trying to be like, no. If you want to change your life, you have to change yourself first. It's like, great. And so that's what the Miracle Morning has done for, about 1.7 million people that have read it around the world. And it's, and that's just, that number is just growing every day. It'll be in the millions and hopefully the billions someday. That's my mission, is to elevate the consciousness of humanity one morning at a time, one person at a time. However, what I realized is that you can be like a personal development, aficionado and read all, you have your library is stacked with books. You're reading all the books. You go to all the how to change your life and lectures and grow your business seminars and on and on and on. But that doesn't actually produce the achievements that you want in your life, right? It doesn't actually produce the results. It produces the internal growth, but many of us are guilty of, as I said, I call it personal development junkie because I have been one in the past and I still cross that line quite a bit, like I'm a recovering addict, right? And what I mean is that you read all these books, but it's still really easy to delude ourselves into thinking that the personal development, that the training, that the seminars, that the books are enough. And that, well, yeah, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm reading every day, so I can pat myself on the back. It's good. But that doesn't change your bank account, right? Reading a book reading David Osborne's book, Wealth Can't Wait, or an even better one he co-authored called Miracle Morning Millionaires. But reading David Osborne's book doesn't actually change your bank account balance at all. It doesn't save a dime for you. It doesn't improve your, right? It doesn't do anything. Reading the book doesn't do anything. Reading a book on health doesn't actually improve your health. And so what ends up happening is, I still believe that most of us let fear run our lives. And it's often in our subconscious mind, like David talked a lot about the subconscious, right? It's very subtle. We often don't even know that we have fear, but the fear of failure, even the fear of success, the fear of really the unknown is what we avoid. And it keeps us playing small. It keeps us living smaller than we're capable of and than we really want. So the miracle equation is the next piece, meaning that you've got the Miracle Morning is your practice for personal development, but the miracle equation is your process for goal achievement, right? And you need both. Anybody familiar with the be, do, have model? All of you. Okay, awesome. Maybe it's a KW thing. I don't know. Right, but for those of you that aren't familiar, the idea is that we all want to have. Like most people just want to have, right? I buy lottery tickets because I want to have. I want to have $1 million. I'm going to buy the lottery ticket, right? I have a vision board because I want to have all that shit on the vision board. Pardon my French, right? So I have a vision board because I want to have. I'm a haver. I want to have. We all want to have. And what you find is kind of the evolution of thinking was, okay, well, if you want to have, you actually got to do first. You got to do the things that will get you to where you want to go, that will create the things that you want to have in your life. You go, okay, that makes sense. I need to do the things. Got it. I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna work harder. I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing, but I'm gonna do even more of it, right? I'm gonna hustle. I'm gonna grind. You name it. So that's the do part. But then, as it was, and I don't know where this even stems from, so I need to Google this and find out actually what I'm talking about here. But then you actually, if you look deeper, you get to the be part, right? Which is, well, who do you need to be in order to be able to do the things you need to do so that you can have the things that you want to have, right? And that was the Miracle Morning, was born from that philosophy of be, do, have, and it was from the quote from Jim Rohn: your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. And when I heard that quote, I realized I'm not dedicating time every day to my personal development Not at a high level, like, yeah, I read a little bit here and there, but I don't have like a focused, disciplined, like 60-minute, intensive personal development ritual. And that made me aware that, oh, I'm not becoming the person that I need to be in terms of developing the knowledge and the skills and the qualities and the behaviors and the mindset that are required, and that will also make it not just required, but they actually make the do part so much easier. Right? The more you become, the easier it is to do. And there's that philosophy of, again, it's like philosophy 1.0 of if you want to have more, you have to do more. Right? But the idea is when you become more, you find that you can actually have more by often doing even less. Because you're becoming more capable, more qualified, more skilled. I'll give you an example. When I was in sales, I sold Cutco cutlery for 6 years. Any Cutco fans in the room? Make some noise. Woo! I'm a huge Cutco fan. I used to sell Cutco to a lot of real estate agents with their logo engraved and a cute little message, and they would give it to their clients, and their clients would use it every single day, forever, and be like, yeah, I never forget my realtor. See Lindsay Musser after the break. But true story. So where was I at? I do have brain damage, so you guys have to really pay attention because I forget what I'm talking about like at least 3, 4, 5 times. What was I talking about? B, do you have? I was in sales. Yes, thank you. And so what I realized is I wanted to double my income one year. There were 2 ways I did it. One year I doubled my sales, doubled my income by simply doubling my process. And we're going to talk more about that because that's a big part of this book. Is how do you make extraordinary effort ordinary, so it's very doable and you're very pulled toward it. It doesn't feel overwhelming. And so here's what I did. The idea of, raise your hand if the idea of doubling your production from your best year ever to the next year would be a little bit intimidating for you. Yeah, right, that's terrifying. And so I was like, how am I going to double my best year ever? And I was one of Cutco's top reps for those 5 years. So I'm like, I'm not doubling like I was terrible and now I'm going to actually get my shit together and do a little something. Like it was like, no. I was number 5 out of 50,000 sales reps. I was number 5 one year. I was number 6 the next year. And then I was trying to double those years the following year, right? But here's what happened. And I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit because we're diving into the miracle equation, but that's okay. That's how I roll. We're going to be all over the place. But what ended up happening was I went, well, wait a minute. Every goal, like my goal that I'm trying to accomplish of doubling my sales and doubling my income, every goal is preceded by a process. And that process is what is required to produce the result that you're after, right? And if you define the process and you commit to the process, the results take care of itself over an extended period of time, right? I mean, law of averages are a real thing. You can have a bad day, a bad week, even a bad month, maybe, right? But if you consistently execute your process that you've predetermined is the process that will inevitably produce the result you want, well then it's inevitable. It's just a matter of time. So for me, luckily I kept good stats. And I went back to my best year ever, and I had written down and that was back when I was using a paper planner, like a day minder, you actually wrote in it on your hand, not a phone. Some of you are like, I still use that, it's okay. I just finally switched like a year ago. It was the best thing ever. Just do it, like trust me. Every year I'm like, this is the year I'm gonna switch. And I'm like, I'm so used to my paper planner. It's a little bonus lesson, but do it, make the switch. You'll be so happy you did. So anyway, tangent. So here's what I did. I had kept track of how many calls I made those each year. I tallied them each day, literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? I tallied them. How many appointments I scheduled. So I had averages of how many appointments I would set per call I made, right? And then how many appointments I did in sales and all that good stuff. But so here's the fundamental foundation of that process is I went, well, how much I sell in a year is literally produced by how many phone calls I make. And how many phone calls I make determines how many appointments I set, where it all averages itself out. So I went back to my best years and I went, how many calls did I make those years? Like, what did I average? And I averaged, it was either 20.2 or 21.2, but basically right around 20 calls a day to prospects, 5 days a week. It took me 1 hour to make those 20 calls, right? Not labor intensive, it was just an hour. And then here's the rocket science that I calculated in my brain. I went, wait a minute. That number of doubling my production is intimidating as hell. That's terrifying. Like, that seems impossible. But I've made 40 calls in a day before. It's an hour to make 20 calls. It's another hour to make another 20. That's not scary or intimidating. Now, I've never made 40 calls a day on average 5 days a week for an entire year. Obviously, the most I had done was 20. So then I was like, it can't be this simple. Doubling my income can't be this simple. Increasing my income and my sales by 100%, it can't be this simple. I thought, if I just make 40 calls a day, am I missing something here? Or wouldn't I double my sales and double my income for only working 1 more hour a day? The rest is just showing up. And I'm happy to say that that's what I did. 40 calls a day at the end of that year. I sold, I doubled my best year ever in Cutco, and that was my last year with the company, and I rode off into the sunset, so to speak, right? But that's what I call the power of the process. And here's where this gets tricky, and where almost everything that I'm going to teach you today, and these 2 decisions that we're going to go into, that's what the miracle equation is. It's 2 decisions that move your biggest goals from possible to probable to inevitable. We're going to dive into those 2 decisions today. The second decision is extraordinary effort. Okay, as I mentioned, and this is about defining your process. This isn't about working 80 hours, a week, right? This is about working maybe 1 extra hour a day, or working smarter for 1 hour a day, and doing at least one thing each day that moves you in the direction of your biggest goals and dreams. And when you do that, again, I'm sorry it's so simple, but your success becomes inevitable. If you wanted to write a book, the process involves writing. And you quantify it like, okay, I'll write 500 words a day or 1,000 words a day. And I'll do that 6 days a week and take Sundays off or whatever, right? Your process is your process, how fast you want to write the book. But here's the deal. Writing a book is this big, scary, audacious goal for most people. It was for me for many years. And it's like a lifetime dream that I read in USA Today. I think it's 82% of Americans surveyed have in USA Today want to write a book, and it's less than 1% that do it. Think about how crazy that is. What are your goals and dreams, right, that are on the list, but you're not pursuing them, right? These are the way I define a miracle, by the way, it's important. I want to define this for you because that is such a loaded word, right? Miracle is a very loaded word, and then we'll get back to the power of the process. Actually, no, you know what? Let's not get too out of order. All right, I have no order here. This is just all up here, but so. I'm going to go back. I'll get to the miracle in a second. The power of the process. Here's what this is about. Every result that we want to create in our lives is preceded by a process. The process is what produces the result. Here's the problem. Most of us are emotionally attached to our short-term results, and our emotional attachment affects our level of commitment to our process. So if the process, and it's actually emotional attachment is a double-edged sword, meaning, you get on the phone and you're all fired up. I set a big goal. This is going to be a great week. And then you go out, you make your 20 calls or whatever, and you do your prospecting, and you get 0 results, and one person on the other end of the phone is a total bitch, right? You ever had that person on the other end of the phone, right? And then you take it personally. You're like, I'm a nice person. Like, how could she talk to me like this? Or he talk, right? Yeah. So I had that a lot. But if you go out and you get bad results, how do you feel? Bad, right? Bad results with emotional attachment, if that's how you play this game, it causes you to feel bad. Good results, how do you feel? But it's a double-edged sword because, at least for me, when I was in sales, I didn't have a family to support. I had a little more flexibility in how my income rolled in and rolled out and everything else. I was 19 when I started in sales, and so what I would do is I would work for a sales contest. It's often called a push period in the Cutco world. I'd work for a push period, and during that push period, I would, it's 2 weeks, 14 days, I would work like, morning till night, 12 hours a day, hardcore. And I would do it because I was chasing something. I was chasing recognition, trying to beat everybody else that I was competing against. I was chasing some sort of prize or a trip that they had offered, right? And what happened is that was my driver, my motivation. I'd work really, really hard. I'd make a nice chunk of money, and then I would just chill out and take the next 3 weeks off. I'd go on vacation. I would just lay by the pool for 3 weeks, and then I would run out of money, and then the next sales contest would always be around the corner, and then I would work again. Anyone work in any way like this at all? Kind of like, yeah, some of you are like, I don't want to admit it, but I do, right? But here's the thing. That's emotional. That's the harmful effects of emotional attachment on the other side of the coin. Because when results go good, we also lose our drive to keep pushing forward and generating results. Right? So it's a double-edged sword. Results are bad, you feel bad, you don't feel motivated to keep working, you start questioning your profession. You ever done that before, right? I'm just gonna go, forget sales. Sales is too hard, it's too up and down. I need to just go get a regular job. It'd be so much easier, life would be easier if I just clocked in and clocked out and they sent me money, right? Like, anybody had that thought before? Be honest, come on. If you're in sales, you've had that thought many times, daily sometimes, every day. So that's emotional attachment. So I cracked the code on this. I cracked the code. One night, I made 20 phone calls, and I set up 0 appointments, and someone called that had an appointment the next day, and they canceled. So I was like 20 calls, and I was -1 for the day, right? And I was like, this sucks. And here's the thing, emotional attachment. I go, what it was is, I hate the way this feels right now. I hate the way it feels to set a goal, to work toward it, and to not hit it. I don't like the way that, even a small goal, like 20 phone calls, I wanted to set 6 appointments that day, I set none. I lost one. That was, right, I don't like the way this feels. So I'm thinking, maybe I don't know, what do I do? And that night falling asleep, I had an epiphany that changed my sales career forever. And it made it the lowest stress job that I had ever had. Okay, so this is a little bonus tip right now on how to do that. So here's what I realized. I said, well, wait a minute. And I've kind of already mentioned this through this story, but I thought, how much money I earn at the end of the year is not dependent on those 20 phone calls. It's not dependent on any given day or any given appointment with a single prospect. Yet, my emotions are attached to all of those things. And none of those are in my control. I thought, the way I have the game that I'm playing set up, it's a losing game. At least it's one that's really stressful. Good results, I feel good. Bad results, I feel bad. And I went, wait a minute. What if I defined my process, which it's phone calls, and I calculated how many calls I needed to make each and every day to hit my goal at the end of the year. Not for the day, not for the week, not even for the month, but at the end of the year. I thought long term. I thought, what if I define my process? So it's 20 calls a day, 5 days a week, we'll say, which is really, it was. And I thought, what if I could, and here's the secret to sales success, at least low stress sales success. I thought, what if I make a conscious decision to commit to my process daily without being emotionally attached to my results at all? And I went, so if my new job wouldn't be to schedule appointments each day or make sales each day. Those are byproducts of what the new job description would be, which is to pick up the phone and dial the 7 digits and do that 20 times every day and not care what happens beyond that. What's going on? Are you clapping for me? I mean, thank you. I have changed one life today. No, so thank you. But it was, I mean, again, it was one of those, like the other thing I shared where I'm like, is this as effective as it seems too simple. I don't know if I'm right here. And here's what happened. The next day, I changed my goals. My goal wasn't to set 6 appointments. It wasn't to sell, $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 that week or whatever I was doing in Cutco. My goal was to make 20 calls for the day. That was not my goal. My commitment was to make 20 calls for the day and then take the rest of the day off. And I made my 20 calls as fast as I possibly could. And here's the beauty of it. Wait till you see how this strategy flips everything upside down. When somebody answered the phone and they're like, yeah, no, not interested, thanks anyway, and they hung up on me, normally that would hit me right in the gut. And I would have that victim talk, I'm a nice person, how could they? And actually, this is a little terrible thing I would do as an immature 19-year-old. I would call them back. It was nice, but I would call them back. I'd be like, hey, Mary, this is Hal again. I just talked to you. I think we got disconnected. I'm so sorry. And that was that was just a nice way I could and they're like, no, it wasn't an accident. Bye. And I'm like, okay. I felt like I did something. So anyway. So here's what happened now. Now I got hung up on, and I went, awesome. That's the fastest call I could have. I'm that much closer to going to lay out by the pool at my apartment for the rest of the afternoon until my appointments this evening. Do you guys see that? I mean, think about how powerful that is, right? And how we are in control of our mental and our emotional state. Probably my favorite chapter, arguably, in the new book, is called Becoming Emotionally Invincible. Anybody listen to my podcast on that the other day? Show of hands. A few of you? Come. More of you need to listen to the podcast. But it's the idea that our emotional state is our quality of life, right? It's how we feel. Like, life could be great, but if you feel bad about it, well, life sucks. You know, we see it with a lot of celebrities, right? That they have everything they ever wanted, living the life of their dreams, rich beyond their wildest dreams, all the freedom, and they turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol, they turn to suicide because they haven't figured out how to manage or master their emotional state, right? And I believe that everything begins and ends with that, our quality of life. And here's what I mean is it begins with mastering our emotional state because we have to get ourselves into the right emotional state to take action, to be focused, to be disciplined, right? So we've got to manage our emotional state on the front end to get out the be part of the be, do, have model. We got to be in a peak emotional state so that we can do what we have to do to have what we want to have. And so this piece of being committed to your process without being emotionally attached to your results is fundamental. And it moves your success to inevitable. Because, like for me that year, I knew if I made 20 calls a day, 5 days a week, I would sell X amount. And then a couple years later, when I decided to double my sales, it was just double the calls, double the process. Don't change the emotional attachment. I'm still emotionally detached from my day-to-day results because I'm in it for the long run. And I know that my emotional attachment hinders my emotional state. It affects my emotional state in a negative way that affects my drive and my determination and my commitment and just my state of how I show up to appointments, you know, right, with customers if I'm having to bottle up all this stress that I'm feeling. So that was the most, and here's the thing, at the end of the year, actually here's what happened. At the end of the campaign, so in Cutco there were 3 campaigns, spring, summer, fall. Each was 4 months. And I made this decision, it was the first week of January that I had that epiphany about being committed to the process without being emotionally attached to the results. And my manager hated it, by the way, at first, until I taught it to other people and it worked for them. But he hated it because he always had to keep track of numbers, and he would call me and go, hey, what are you going to sell this week? What can I put you down for? I'm like, I can put you down for 20 calls a day, all 5 days this week. He's like, no, Hal, that doesn't help me. Come on, I'm trying to help figure out the sales week, what we're going to shoot for. I'm like, I'm committed to 20 calls a day, 5 days this week. That's what you can count on. And whatever happens, happens. And it frustrated him, but I wouldn't budge. And I'd be like, all right, $4,000, that's my guess. I'm like, I have no idea, whatever, put down a number, you know? But the point is, at the end of those 4 months, so get this, there were 50,000 sales reps in the Cutco company at that time, okay? Now, I would say probably 49,990 of them were stressed out all the time, and the other ones were alcoholics. Like, I don't know what they were, right? But pretty much all of them were riding the emotional roller coaster of, oh, I had a great day, oh, I had a terrible day, I want to quit, oh, it was good, oh, right? Like, that's how it was. Here's the beauty of it. At the end of those 4 months, out of those 50,000 sales reps, I was the #1 sales rep in the entire company, but I had the lowest stress job of any of us because they were still riding the emotional roller coaster that comes with being in the sales profession, and I just made 20 calls a day, and then I went to the pool for an hour and laid out and got some sun and some vitamin D, and then I showed up to the appointments that I set and had a great time, and that was my job. That was my life. Thank you. Thank you, and I hope you will take that and be like, hey, I want a low-stress job as a realtor. I'm going to do that too, right? You know, just commit to the prospecting, commit to the process, and don't be emotionally attached to the results. And I'll give you one more example of how that would play out in another area of life. Let's say you wanted to lose weight, right? If you want to lose weight, you know, the general process would be to burn more calories than you take in, right? And so the general idea would be, okay, well, I've got to limit my caloric intake so that it's less than I'm burning, and I've got to increase my cardiovascular output so that I'm burning more calories each day, and I'm going to schedule my process is basically 30 minutes of exercise, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, and I'm also going to get the Food Bit app or whatever the hell it is and track my calories and make sure I'm under a certain amount, right? So that's my process. It involves limiting calories and burning calories, right? Very simple. If you commit to that process without being emotionally attached to what the scale says on any given day or week, your success is pretty much inevitable. Outside of like a genetic defect where your body for some reason is storing fat, you know what I mean? Like, unlike other than something random, in general, if you commit to that process, you can't fail. It's only a matter of time. Now, you might want to lose 20 pounds in a month, and it might take you 3 months, whatever, right? The time frame is the variable that we often can't predict, we can't depend on. Things usually take longer than we want. So, the miracle equation, we got some time. You see on the front, there are 2 decisions that make this up. Now, the 2 decisions are unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. I've been saying this in a lot of interviews. Those 2 decisions are deceptively simple in their explanation, meaning if I said that and walked off stage, you're like, yeah, he told us the secrets to success were unwavering faith and extraordinary effort, so I guess I have to believe and work hard. Thanks, Hal. Right? Like, it doesn't do anything for you. Like that's not gonna. You're like, I get it, but I don't. That doesn't really. You don't really get it. So, and that's kind of why there's the book. Is like you have to understand how to integrate these in your life. Because here's the thing: it's not about more information, right? Rarely do we need more information. We need methods for implementation. You follow, right? And that, by the way, that's why the Miracle Morning is reaching millions of people around the world. Is because I've analyzed it and I feel like, well, I just held people's hands. I'm like, here's how you beat the snooze button. Here's what you do before you go to bed. Here's exactly what you do when you wake up in the morning. And then when you get up, then do this. Then do this. Like just baby steps, making it as easy as possible. I was giving people a method for implementation. And roughly 72% of the million people around the world that do Miracle Morning said that they had never been a morning person ever before they did it. But do you think they didn't know that waking up early might be a good idea? No, they had the information, but they didn't have the method for implementation, right? So when it comes to these 2 decisions, right now in the next 13 minutes, I'm going to give you the 2 decisions and the method for implementation, okay? The first decision is unwavering faith. If you study the world's most successful people, good luck finding one that didn't launch into their journey with some element of faith. It's the faith that they could do something they had never done before, right? No Olympian was born with those skills, you follow? Like, they had to establish the faith, like, you know what? I could become the best in the world. Well, here's the problem, why that's hard for most of us and why it's so counterintuitive. We all have a rear view mirror, they call it your subconscious rear view mirror. And just every day, it's how we live through that rearview mirror. We usually check the rearview mirror when we're faced with a challenge or an opportunity. We check the rearview and go, well, who am I? Who have I proven that I am? What have I proven that I could do or not do? And we check the rearview and we go, oh, okay, that's who I am? I'll keep being that person. You follow? But the Olympian, the millionaire, the top realtor in Keller Williams, at some point they had to be like, yeah, that's who I've been my entire life. But it's not who I am. It's not who I'm capable of being. It's who I was. And then they turn the rearview mirror down, and they step out on faith. And they create a vision of what they want to be, do, and have for their life. And then they live into that vision. But it's all through the lens of unwavering faith. And there's 2 parts to making that decision and implementing it. The first is establishing it. That's what I'm talking about here. They establish the faith, I can be better than I've ever been. I can do more, I can have more, I can create more, I can achieve more, I can work harder. That's establishing the faith that a miracle is possible. That's the easy part, because all of us are into self-help, personal development, probably in some way. And if you are a student of self-help, personal development, or even just if you're a member of the Optimist Club, then you abide by the Optimist Credo, which is anything is possible. Anything is possible. But that doesn't matter. Like, anything is not enough to get us out of bed, possible is not enough to get us out of bed in the morning with the drive and the determination. Because, yeah, everything is possible. So why are we here? Why aren't we all sitting on an island somewhere with our private jet and our freedom and our family and our health, right? Like, why aren't we all in the best shape of our life? Like, Yeah, anything's possible, but we don't pursue that which is possible. We pursue that which is probable. That which is likely, that there's some sort of evidence of. When was the last time that you looked at a goal and you're like, dude, the odds of me hitting that are slim to none? I'm going for it. I am actually going to commit to giving it everything I have, every fiber of my being to make that happen. Because it is, the odds of it happening are like impossible. Like, we don't work that way. It's not normal. But what in the book I call miracle mavens. The word maven is from the Yiddish word mavin, which means one who understands. So one who understands how to create miracles in their life, that's a miracle maven. And let me actually, now I'll define miracle. I was going to do that earlier. I'll define it now. Miracle is a very loaded word, right? It could have a religious context, but no matter what, it usually has a bad rap because miracles are thought of as these passive, random acts, right? Passive, random act. And the strategy to achieve a miracle is to pray. Please, 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 I really want this miracle, right? Or to make a vision board, put up some really fancy images and just wait. I'm doing The Secret. Got a vision board. Life's about to change. No, it's not. Not close, no. So the way that I define a miracle is it's not these passive random acts, because those are unreliable, right? Like I like to define things in a way where you have the power, you have the control, you have a degree of control at least over creating what it is that you want, not hoping and waiting and, you know. So here's how I define a miracle. A miracle is any outcome, I should say any meaningful outcome, outside the realm of what you believe is probable for you. Let me say that again since I messed it up 3 times. Any meaningful outcome that is outside the realm, or that is beyond, what you believe is probable for you. So when you achieve that outcome, it feels like a what? It feels like a miracle. The year that I sold $200,000 of Cutco and I doubled my best year ever. It was my first year, I was 25, my first year earning 6 figures ever. I doubled from the previous best. I literally remember, and this is like I wrote about this in the book, like I want all of you to have this moment at the end of this year. I want you to think about that. What is your miracle going to be? For me, I got my commission check for the year, and I was standing at the foot of my bed. Because you don't know, right? Like orders can cancel, right? You don't know. You send your orders in, God, I hope they go through. And I pull out my commission statement, and I was shooting for $200,000, one of the first, few reps that had ever done that amount before, and I was doing it, and I read the commission statement, it said $205,000 and change. And I remember I was like, no effing way, like, I did it, and I remember it was like, I wish there was some classical music, because I remember I held this statement, I spread my arms, and I just fell back onto my bed like it was a cloud, and I just bounced, and I just laid there. Like, that's the experience of creating a miracle, where you're like, I did it. I did it. It wasn't probable. It was possible, but it wasn't probable, but I did it. So now let me talk to you about how to move your goals from possible, which is no man's land, right, to probable, to inevitable, okay? So the first decision, unwavering faith, you've got to establish the faith. But they call that uninformed optimism, which is, I can do anything. But what most people do, those that are willing to establish the faith they can do something they've never done, is they step out on that faith, they start working towards it, and as soon as we hit a roadblock, right, doubt creeps in. Oh, shit, I was kidding myself. Never mind, woo, back to the way things were. I tried, I gave it a shot, right? Like that's. But people that actually achieve, miracle mavens, those people, did they give up the first time they hit a setback or an obstacle? No, their faith had to be unwavering, because usually they had to overcome obstacle after obstacle, climb mountain after mountain, get knocked down, get back up, right? Like that's how you succeed. The faith must be unwavering. You must maintain unwavering faith until you create the outcome that you're after. And the word until, circle that word, underline it 3 times, until. Unwavering faith until. And here's how you do that in a tangible way. Again, I would love to give you some scientific, rocket science, complicated way to do this. Super simple. You write out a statement that says, I am committed to giving it everything I have to blank, blank being your outcome. So I'm committed to giving it everything I have to achieve this goal, whatever the goal is, right? Write it in. Regardless of my results along the way. Very important. Regardless of my results along the way. No matter what, there is no other option. I created the miracle equation when I was 20 years old trying to break a company record. And the odds of breaking the record were not very good. It was nearly impossible, and then they shortened our time frame by 30% on an already almost impossible goal. And so I'll tell you, I was trying to sell $20,000 in 14 days of Cutco, and that had been done before by a few people, but no one had ever done it 3 times in a row. I was trying to be the first person to ever do it 3 times in a row. But if you've ever achieved amazing success, right, you usually look back and you see the luck that was involved, and that creates doubt for you in the future. You follow? Right? You're like, oh, well, if that one deal wouldn't have gone through that I've been working on for 6 months, and then that I was showing a house to that one woman, and her neighbor came over and was like, I need to sell my house. Like that came, all that stuff came through. I can't duplicate that. I can't count on that. That's the mystery that's in miracles, by the way, right? Is that luck. It does show up. It always is part of the process. So for me going into this third one, I'm like, dude, there's no way. Like, I got so lucky on those first 2. Everything went right. No one's ever done it 3 times in a row. I don't know that I can do it. And I spent a few weeks leading up to this push period, getting myself mentally like, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I'm committed. And then on the day before the contest started, our manager said, hey, everybody, just welcome to this team meeting. We were at our team meeting, and he said, he said, you know, this is only a 10-day push period. We don't have the full 14 days because the conference got moved back 4 days, so make sure you adjust your goals accordingly. And my heart kind of sank into my stomach, and I raised my hand. I'm like, no, Frank, okay, whoa, I didn't know this. Please tell me that this push period doesn't count for like the record books because we're not even getting the full 14 days. He said, Hal, sorry, they had to adjust the conference, but it counts. I was like, no. And that night I went home, and I'm going, what do I do? Do I lower my goal? Do I take a vacation? Do I stick with the goal? Like, what do I do? I don't know. I don't know what to do. Because 14 days felt almost impossible. 10 days felt literally impossible. And then I remembered a lesson from Jim Rohn, actually a lesson from Dan Cassetta, my mentor, and he learned this from Jim Rohn. And I'll summarize the lesson. It's that the real purpose of a goal is not to hit the goal. The purpose of a goal is to become the type of person through your unwavering pursuit that can achieve bigger and better goals for the rest of your life. So you think about that. We usually view goals in a black and white way where it's like, well, I hit it, I succeed, I missed it, I fail, and that fear of failure or that possibility of failure keeps us from even trying the big goals. But when you realize, wait, the purpose of a goal isn't even to hit the goal. If you give it everything you have and you don't hit the goal, but you develop discipline, you develop belief in yourself, you develop the qualities and characteristics that you develop on that journey toward the goal, the value of that growth for you far outweighs the goal. So if you work and give it everything you have and you're like, I fell a little short, you still choose to live by the miracle equation and maintain unwavering faith before the extraordinary effort for the next goal, and then the next goal, and then the next goal. And each time, you become a better version of who you were when you tried the previous goal, and the one before that, and the one before that. And all of a sudden, you wake up and you're like, dude, I am on fire. Like, I show up, I approach every goal, every dream, and even every obstacle with unwavering faith, not in the higher power, right? Nothing wrong with that, but this is unwavering faith in yourself, in your ability, in your commitment. That's the faith that I'm talking about. And the extraordinary effort, it's not about working 40 hours a week. We already talked about it. It's about defining your process, predetermining your process, and then committing to that process over an extended period of time. And these 2 decisions, like I said, the world's most successful people in all walks of life, this is how they live. Whether it's Michael Jordan, my favorite basketball player as a kid growing up, right? When the ball hit his hands, while many players are going, I hope I don't miss, the best in the world, they understand, no. I have unwavering faith that I'll make every shot that I take. Every shot that I take. That's their mindset. Do they make every shot? No, the average best players in the world make 50%, give or take. So think about that for a second. The miracle equation doesn't guarantee anything. It just increases the likeliness. It moves you toward that inevitability when you live this way. It doesn't mean everything goes perfectly, right? Just like even the best in the world, it doesn't go perfectly. But in the same way that Michael Jordan knows that he can't make every shot he takes, it doesn't change that he has faith that he'll make every shot he takes. And if most players miss a shot, what creeps into their mind? Doubt. And this is, when I say a shot, and this is a metaphorical, whatever you're shooting towards, right? But doubt creeps in their mind. But the best in the world, which you you have this in you, right? The best in the world go, give me the ball again. I'm going to make the next shot. I have unwavering faith I'll make the next shot. And if they miss the second shot, most players, if they get a ball the third time, they go, self-doubt dictates their behavior, and they pass the ball back. And that's what we do with our goals and with our dreams. We consider it. Nah, not me. I've failed before. Nah, I've never done this before. But the best in the world, miracle mavens, they'll shoot over and over and over and over and over again because they understand that decision to establish and to maintain unwavering faith is what keeps your mind focused on where you are going, and it fuels your drive to put forth extraordinary effort and execute your process to achieve everything you want in your life. Tangible, measurable miracles, or in other words, outcomes outside the realm of what you currently may believe are probable for you. And before I wrap up, I don't normally sell anything from stage. I don't know if I'd call this selling, but this is the new book, and it's available today. It technically comes out on Tuesday, but you can pre-order it today. And I'm doing something really special for the book. If you pre-order your book there, or Amazon, or wherever books are sold, and forward your receipt to miracleequation@gmail.com, you will get $1,347 in real, brand new, relevant bonuses. And that includes a 6-week Miracle Equation course with me, starting April 24th, in just a couple of weeks, where I will walk you through for 6 weeks over video how to implement every part of the Miracle Equation book. So I'd appreciate your support. The book is really, it's really good. I feel it's really going to help people. You got a real good preview of it today. And what's my next slide? I'm not sure. I think that's it. Okay. All right. Well, the last thing I want to say is this. Whatever it is that you have in your heart, and like David Osborne said, he's achieved all the business success he's ever wanted, and now being the best father and the best husband is what's in his heart. Whatever is in your heart this year, if you could accomplish any single goal, just pick one. In the book, I call it your mission, because goals are cute and fun to set, and then when you don't hit them, we set new ones. But mission carries a different weight. Humanitarian organizations conduct missions, right? Military organizations carry out missions. It's not, I hope we don't die. It's, no, this is a mission. Like, we're fully committed to not dying on this one, right? And everyone. So the level of importance that a mission holds is greater than a goal. So I want to leave you with, decide what is your miracle mission, your one goal that achieving it won't just make you a bunch of money, or get you some other cute perks, but the ultimate purpose, remember, it's not to hit the goal, it's to become a miracle maven. It's to become the type of person who lives through the lens of unwavering faith and wakes up every day and doesn't even feel overwhelmed to be putting forth extraordinary effort that is moving you and your biggest goals from possible to probable to inevitable. I love you guys and gals. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Thank you.
Could you allow them to maybe ask you a few questions?
Sure.
A lot of people want to do that.
Absolutely.
We got a few minutes to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys want to ask Hal a few questions?
Couple questions
Yes?
for Hal?
All right. Let's go first. Hands up. Who has questions for Hal?
I love answering questions.
Who'd like to go second? Right there.
My question was, for those who maybe aren't optimists, maybe they're a little more skeptics, I wouldn't say pessimist, how do you what is your favorite mindset tool that just gets your head right in the moment when you're leading in, so take those emotions out of it?
Yeah, what's your name, Jason?
Jason. Yeah.
Great question, Jason. So for me, there's an exercise that I've done for many years, and I'll do it. I still do it. I call it the 2 pages. And in life, we all have 2 pages that we can focus on at any given time. And those 2 pages, we can look at our entire life through these 2 pages. We can look at a relationship with one person through these 2 pages. We can look at our physical body through these 2 pages. Right? It's a lens of either or. 1 page, and I literally do this physically on paper, right? I draw a line and I do this. 1 page lists everything that we have to feel bad about, right? All our faults, all our failures, all of, our fear, you name it, right? And it's an infinitely long list, right? You could probably spend a year writing it out and have it be thousands of things long, right? And every single one of us has the opposite page, a page that lists everything we have to feel great about in our lives. It lists all the things that we like about life, about where we live, about our friends, our family, things we like about ourselves. And the longest part of the list is it lists our unlimited potential. Right? So it means anything on the other side of the list that we don't like, particularly, but that we could change, right? Well, that then, the opposite of that thing is on the second list. And so the quality of our life at any given moment has very little to do with what's going on around us, right? But everything to do with what's going on inside of us. And it's simply a matter of, this is another way of saying of what we focus on, right? And so that's it. So for me, I can write down all the things, and I did this one year. At the end of the year, I always do a journal review, and I go over my schedule for the year. I'll spend almost a whole day doing this. I go and I look at my journal for the year. I read through all my journal entries, and I write down. I have another piece of paper where I write down my wins, things that actually went well. And the first year I did this, I had 30 something significant wins. And when that year ended, I felt the way most people feel, which sounds like the way you feel, kind of your general state of being, is you end a year and you're like, we always focus on the gap. Right? Man, I didn't hit all my goals. I didn't do this. This didn't go well. I'm not where I want to be here. Blah, 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 blah. We're focusing on all the negative, right? And then we feel overall like we're not that capable. We're not that deserving. We're not that worthy. We screwed it up again, right? And so when I did this list of all the positives for the year, and I wrote down all the negatives too, and I framed them as, this is an area I'm going to improve this year. This, right? So they actually were positive. I'm actually going to improve. But I looked at that list and I was like, I am a badass. I was like, I can't believe if I wouldn't have done the review and the reflection, I wouldn't have even been present to this. And that's the thing. Our lives are effing amazing no matter what. When I had cancer, I was on the verge of death and I made a decision, I'll be the happiest and the most grateful I've ever been while I go through the most difficult time in my life. And I was celebrating every day. Thank you. Thank you. And here's the deal. When I got diagnosed with cancer, my negative list, it went really long. It got real long real fast, right? But I didn't live over there. This list is valuable. You learn from it. You make new decisions as a result of the things that don't make you feel good, right? But you literally you only spend time looking at it to make positive decisions and changes, and then you put it away. And it's in your drawer, right? Whether mentally or literally, it's in your drawer, and you're like, I can get that anytime. Anytime I want to feel bad, it's there. I can do it anytime. But then you live over here. That's where you live, right? So being an optimist or a pessimist, there may be some biologically programmed nature. I've read a little bit about that. I don't know a lot about it, right? But the fact is, any one of us can sit there. Usually if you're feeling bad, you're focusing on things that make you feel what?
Bad.
Bad. If you're feeling good, and they're both always present. They're both always there. And I love the cancer example because I lost 25% of my body weight. I was in physical pain. I was on the verge of death and losing my kids. But I didn't live in the state of fear or in the state of, right? And this book, that's what prompted this book. Because the day I was diagnosed with cancer, my wife's like, what are we going to do? And I said, sweetie, I don't know if I've told you this, but there's this thing I've been doing for 18 years called the miracle equation. And it works virtually every single time, and it has allowed me to defy, it's how I walked again when I had my car accident, right? So anyway, so I'm going off on a tangent. But the point is, right, that's it. It's the 2 pages exercise, and just accept what you can't change over here, take the things that you can change, and move them over here, because that's positive that you're going to change them, and then live over here. And the quality of your life can be extraordinary no matter what, if you're living over here with your focus. So, yeah, Jason, hope that was helpful, man. Thank you.
Awesome.
We have time for one more. Should we do it?
Probably good.
Probably wrap it up.
Yeah. Anybody? Burning desire? There you go,
One
right
more?
here.
There we go. Jesse.
Go, Brother James. Go, Brother James. This is the last question. Thank you. Yeah, I can hear you. I can repeat the question.
So I think I understand how I can implement the miracle equation into my business. I wonder if you could guide us on how we could implement these into personal relationships. Eliminating the emotional side of things makes sense to me, except for that personal growth with somebody else.
What do you mean except for that personal growth with somebody else?
A process of going into, a personal relationship and trying to grow that relationship with somebody else inherently seems emotional. So to get rid of the emotion and trust the process, I'm struggling on how I can connect those two. Does that make
Okay, yeah, I'll try and answer that, and let's interrupt me if you need to ask a follow-up question or if I'm off track at all. So the question was how you implement the, really committing to the process without being emotionally attached to the results, that component more, right, in personal relationships. First and foremost, like my process to be a better dad, right, and a better husband, luckily it's pretty simple, and usually that's the point. You want to simplify your process so it's not complex. The simpler, the better. If it's one thing you could do, that's the best, right? The simplest thing you commit to. So for me, it's time. It's time and it's personal development related to parenting and marriage. So time meaning I realized that I needed to spend more time with my kids. And here's a neat strategy that is only 30 minutes a day that has been a total game changer. I decided I wanted to bookend my days with my children so that I was able to influence them first thing in the morning and last thing before bed. And so what I do is in the morning, instead of doing what we used to do, which is like, kids, time to get up, you're gonna be late for school. We'll be downstairs making breakfast, right? Like, that was our beautiful wake-up ceremony that we did each morning. And I realized that I wasn't positively influencing them at all. So now what I do is I schedule, it's only 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes. I go in there for each of my kids, and I start rubbing their back. I go, Halston, it's time to wake up. And I spend the next 15 minutes singing to them, rapping to them, doing affirmations for them, like, Halston, you're amazing. Today's going to be the best day ever. You are so good at making your friends feel great about themselves, right? I just speak that life into them. So that's the first 15 minutes every day, right? And I'm starting the day by positively influencing and connecting with my kids. And then at the end of the day, I go in there and I usually do about a half an hour, I guess, at the end of the day, 15 minutes to a half an hour. But I used to read stories, and then one day, I pulled up a story from my own life, from my childhood, like me getting in trouble and the lesson that I learned from it. And my kids, and I made it funny and animated, and they loved it. And so now they don't want me to read stories anymore. They want to hear stories from my life, which is a really neat way to teach your kids lessons, right, and connect. Like, I don't know about you, but like my parents rarely told me stories from their life. So it's really neat. My kids know me like in this multi-dimensional way. And I'll give you a real quick bonus lesson. Joe Rogan taught me this, not personally. I don't know Joe yet, but Joe, it was great. He said, we always condemn our kids, right? Like they do something wrong, you go, no, you're not supposed to do that, right? Which makes them feel disconnected from us. It makes them feel small. It makes them feel insignificant. It makes them feel scared. It makes them feel intimidated, right? I mean, it makes them think we're on a pedestal and that we're better than them, and they don't relate. And Rogan said, when my kids come to me and they mess up, they get in trouble at school, they get in trouble in any way, he said, I say, oh yeah, I actually went through something. He goes, I find the most similar incident that I went through to what they're going through. I go, I did that when I was a kid too. I screwed up the exact same way. They're like, you did? Now they feel connected. Now they relate. Now dad's on their level. And instead of saying, you shouldn't have done that, you're wrong, he says, let me tell you what happened. And he expresses the consequence. And they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want that to happen. He's like, yeah, I wouldn't do that again. Right? So anyway, it's such a valuable tip. That's been a game changer for my parenting. So, and then the other thing is just reading every day. So I have a self-imposed rule that I'm not allowed to read a business book until I've read 10 pages out of a parenting book or a marriage book. That's been a game changer, right? And it's first thing in the morning, so it immediately reminds me these people are my priority over anything else. And then I learn something I can implement throughout the day with my family, with my kids. So, yeah. Thank you. Great question.
Buddy.
Awesome.
Give Hal a hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've been warned that I have to perform. I'll do one more performance for you.
Warned, we co-wrote this song
That's true.
together. Is this the rap that you rap for Sophie and Halston?
It's one
the
of them.
Miracle Morning
Yeah.
rap?
In the car a lot in the morning. Do I need a handheld or should I just?
I'm going to give you this, and
Oh.
you can use both of them.
All right, double it up. How many of you have the Miracle Morning song, the rap on iTunes or on your phone? Oh my gosh, we got to change that. It's the best $1.29 you will spend all day.
It is the best $1.99. Hey, everyone stand up.
Woo!
Now, Hal has had a goal of being a rapper in his life. Is that right?
Since I was a kid.
Since he was a kid. Can we all take 10 steps closer to the stage to make this feel like a concert? All right, let's do this thing. This is called Miracle Morning, and before we start this song, Unwavering Faith, Hal came down to Austin, Texas, and recorded his portion of this song, literally attached to an IV with no hair and 30 pounds lighter than he is right now. This guy lives everything that he just explained. He is a living embodiment of extraordinary effort and unwavering faith. We're so grateful and lucky to have you here with us, man. Give it up for Hal Elrod. This one's called Miracle Morning.
Stressed out with all reality. Walking out the door, 10 minutes too late. Going to a trial that's good, not great. I wanna be free, wanna be in harmony, and I need a miracle, no more mediocrity. Well, I wanna feel great, wanna change my fate. It's time to make it happen, I know what it's gonna take. This is a miracle morning. We're waking up to live our dreams. This is a miracle morning. Bring out the best in you and me. This is a miracle morning. We're waking up to live our dreams. This is a miracle morning. Whoa, bring out the best in you and me.
Wake up to your full potential. The Miracle Morning is so essential. Win the morning, win the day. Work done early, we can play. Change our life and our behavior. Start the day with 6 lifesavers. Time to make a little space. Slow down. Life's not a race. Silence is our meditation. Program our thoughts with affirmations. See the future with visualization. The body gets right with activation. Words we read, bring what we think. Scribe our thoughts into the ink. Early to bed, early to rise. It's time to be healthy, wealthy, and wise.
This is a miracle morning. Whoa, we're waking up, come on, we're gonna live in our dreams. This is a miracle morning. Yeah, yeah, bring out the best in you and me. This is a miracle morning. We're waking up, come on, we're gonna live in our dreams. This is a miracle morning. Bring out the best in you and me. So wake up to who you are. Let go of who you've been. Wake up your shining star. And let's be the best version. This is a miracle morning. We're waking up, come on, we're gonna live in our dreams. This is a miracle morning. Bring out the best in you and me.
Wake up to your full potential. The Miracle Morning is so essential. Win the morning, win the day. Work done early, we can play. Change our life and our behavior. Start the day with 6 lifesavers. Time to make a little space. Slow down. Life's not a race. Silence is our meditation. Program our thoughts with affirmation. See the future with visualization. My body gets right with activation. Words we read, read what we think. Scribe our thoughts into the ink. Early to bed, early to rise. It's time to be healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Give it up for Hal!
Give it up for Brother James, my favorite musician on the planet.